Look at the roster that LeBron had when he took the Cavaliers to the final. Now, granted, they got smoked by the Spurs. Shannon Brown, Boobie Gibson, Drew Gooden, Larry Hughes, Big Z, Damon Jones, Dwayne Jones, Donnie Marshall, Ira Newble, Sasha Pavlovich, Scott Pollard, Eric Snow, Anderson Varejao, David Wesley. Good God. Let's bring in Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated. Covers the NBA. How are you, Chris?
That's a bad team, Dan. But the question is it worse than the one that Iverson took to the finals in 01?
It's close.
If you look at that roster, that was really bad, too.
Yeah, close. And Dwight Howard took a not a good Orlando team to the finals, but not as bad as what LeBron did.
No, that was better than all three. That was better than the Iverson team because they had Rashard Lewis, who was at the peak of his career then, Jameer Nelson, borderline all-star at that point as well. And granted, Dwight made them all better. Turkle, you can throw into the mix, had his best year. But I just remember that 01 Philadelphia team, and it was Iverson and four guys playing defense. It was Eric Snow, George Lynch, Ty Hill, and Dikembe Mutombo, and he was doing everything out there.
Yeah, you had Aaron McKee. You should do something on the worst teams to get to the NBA Finals, because I'm wondering where that Cleveland Cavaliers team with LeBron James in 07 would rank there.
I think it's neck and neck. I can't think of, top of my head, I can't think in the last 20 years a team that is worse than those two teams. I think it'd be a good poll question someday, like which is worse, that 01 team or the 07 Cleveland team.
Playoff scenarios here. Let's look out west with the drama with the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Rockets. How does this all play out in your opinion?
Well, we're going to know whether the Lakers are in the playoffs or not early because the Utah-Memphis game, I think, is 2.5 hours ahead of time before the Laker game. All that being said, both the Lakers and Houston are going to play all out because they want to avoid Oklahoma City in the first round. I mean, the Lakers and the Thunder, that's homicide by basketball out there. I mean, the Lakers can't hang with Russell Westbrook. They can't have any hope of stopping him or Durant in a 7-game series. That might be a sweep. I think it was, 5 games a year ago. That could possibly be a sweep this year. The Spurs, I don't want to call them a weaker team, but they're certainly more vulnerable right now because of the injuries to Ginobili, Parker, Boris Diaw, because they're tapping 33-year-old Tracy McGrady to come in and give them minutes. I think that's the much preferred matchup for both those teams, Houston and L.A. The key to this game, though, to me, is going to be how James Harden plays tonight. Harden's had a rough stretch the last week or so. 2 of his last 3 games, Dan, he's shot under 30%. The Lakers notoriously have trouble stopping guys off the dribble, stopping guys from getting into the paint. If Harden has a great shooting night, and to a lesser degree if Jeremy Lin has a big night, I think the Rockets can win this game even though it's on the road.
What's the playoff matchup, though, where you could see a surprise early?
Early on, I don't want to sit here and say that Boston's going to upset New York because Rajon Rondo was so important to that team's playoff success. But I think the Celtics, if they can steal one in New York over the weekend, and because of all the stuff that's happened in Boston, Dan, they're going to be playing some inspired basketball, I think, in that first couple of games in New York. But if they can steal one from the Knicks in the first couple of games, that's a series I think that can go their way. I think they can put a lot of pressure on New York to win both in Boston. The other series is in the 4-5 matchup out west. I mean, it's not entirely set yet. There's still some small scenarios that could change, but whether it's Memphis and the Clippers, that's a series that can go either way.
He's Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated joining us, Dan Patrick Show. The thought of the Lakers amnestying Kobe Bryant.
It's fascinating because what it would do is eliminate that $80 million tax bill. And I'm sure you've gone over the logistics at some point, but you amnesty Kobe, suddenly your salary is down to about $70 million, even with the re-signing of Dwight Howard, a couple other small moves, and you won't be paying that massive freight. And I think someone in the Laker office is thinking of the ideal fantasy scenario that they amnesty Kobe. They've got a handshake deal that Kobe goes over to Italy and plays for 6 months, which, by the way, he said he's always wanted to do before his career ends. And then he comes back a year later and signs with the Lakers and gives them a push towards another championship. The problem with that, and there are many problems with that, but the biggest problem with that is that what if Kobe says, no, I want to play sometime next year and goes and signs with the Miami Heat or somebody like that? Or worse, if you bring Kobe back after amnestying him a year later and you no longer have his bird rights, all you can offer him, really, Dan, is $2.5 to $5 million. And as likely as it is that Kobe takes a pay cut in his next deal, if he wants one, he's not playing for $2.5 to $5 million. He's playing for more like what Kevin Garnett got. So it's a nice fantasy scenario that makes some sense on some levels, but I would call it highly unlikely that it happens.
But if I look at this, and if I'm a Laker fan, how important is Kobe coming back next year for a team that may not be much better than this year's team? And if I look at long term, I get by next year, and I've got cap relief here, and all of a sudden we can start to reassemble the Lakers as a younger version here.
Well, I think what you have to look at, though, Dan, is that if you don't bring him back, it's not like you can replace him with somebody else, because regardless of whether they amnesty him or not, they'll be under the tax threshold, but they won't be under the salary cap level. So they won't be able to go out there and sign somebody with all the money that Kobe Bryant is saving them. What it will save them is paying the luxury tax, but it won't create flexibility for them to go out and get somebody else. So your only option right now is, with what you're saying, is, do you want Kobe or do you want no one in that slot? Because the Lakers, best case scenario, can spend the $3 million exception to go get somebody to come in.
Poll question: should Oklahoma City let Kevin Durant go for 70 tonight?
I'd love to see it, honestly.
So
Durant,
would I.
If he got off to a hot start in the first quarter, I think it would be great. But should they do that? No. Imagine if he got hurt. Imagine if he's in the fourth quarter and he's got 50 points and he blows out his knee. However unlikely that scenario may seem, Scott Brooks would be run out of town in about 10 seconds. It would be fun. And I think if Durant had not won the previous 3 scoring championships, maybe Brooks would be tempted to do it. But given his history and given his importance and given the fact that injuries like this happen all the time, witness Kobe Bryant, I don't think they'll do it.
What a soft sports culture we have.
I know.
Come on, Ice Gervin went for it. Would you want to beat Scott
Brooks in that situation?
I would say to Kevin Durant, you tell me how you feel. How about we play the first quarter the way you would normally play a first quarter? How about we go quarter by quarter with this and see how you feel? And if you've got 35 or 40 at halftime, then let's go into halftime and discuss this. But I would go into it discussing it with him. But look, David Robinson put up 71, and that was a playoff team. Nobody said, "Oh, the Admiral, he could get hurt." He only needed 33 to beat Shaq for the title. Ice Gervin against David Thompson, they were a playoff team, and Ice went out and won the scoring title. So
and it's a different time, and granted, it is a different time, but I think what you're saying has some merit there in the first quarter. And I think Durant, regardless of what he's saying, is going to go out there and shoot every time he touches the basketball and put pressure on Scott Brooks. So remember, Scotty comes from the old school. Scotty played in the 90s. He played with Hakeem Olajuwon. He played with some great teams back then. I guess you can't really eliminate the possibility that if Durant has 20 in the first quarter, that Scott says, okay, we're going to take the reins off and let him go. But if he only has 8 or something like that, I wouldn't expect him to play more than 5 minutes in the second half.
Somebody needs to tell Westbrook, though, because that would be the problem. Yeah, Westbrook would be out there, scoring away. He may go for 70 tonight. Okay, before I let you go, the number of teams that can make the finals is how many?
Right now, I would put it at 5. I think that one in the East at this point, and I've been riding the Pacer bandwagon forever, but I don't think anyone can beat Miami and beat LeBron in 4 games. But any of the top 4 teams, and I'm actually going to eliminate Denver from that. I think Denver's the 3 seed or will finish in the 3 seed. But I don't think, because of the loss of Gallinari and the potential loss of Kenneth Faried, I don't know how long he's going to be out with that ankle injury. I think that removes them from the finals equation. But the Clippers, Memphis, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, any one of those 4 teams has the potential to get to the finals and win in the finals. I would give any of those 4 teams a chance against Miami in a 7-game series.
Thanks for the visit. Talk to you soon.
You got it, Dan.
Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated.